Have you ever said yes when every cell in your body was screaming no? You didn't want to disappoint them, you didn't want to seem difficult, so you smiled, nodded, and betrayed yourself in the process. If that hits hard, you're not broken. You've just been trained to believe that your needs are less important than keeping the peace. That setting boundaries is a threat to connection instead of a pathway to real ones. We're taught from an early age to be likable, agreeable, low maintenance, especially if we were raised in environments where love was conditional, where being good meant being quiet, helpful, and compliant. So when we try to set a boundary as adults, it doesn't just feel uncomfortable, it feels dangerous. Our nervous system interprets it as a threat. That's why your hands shake when you say, "I can't make it," or your stomach twists when you tell someone, "I need space." You're not overreacting. You're reliving an old script where saying no could cost you love. But here's the truth no one tells you. A boundary isn't a wall. It's a door. It says, "I'm here, and I matter too." You don't have to be cold to be clear. You don't have to be harsh to be honest. You just have to believe that your well-being is not up for negotiation. Most people think setting boundaries is just about saying no, but it's not. It's about choosing you. And for many of us, that's unfamiliar territory. Choosing yourself might feel selfish if you were raised to prioritize others, if your role in the family was to fix, to smooth things over, to keep everyone happy. So when you finally speak up or pull back, guilt rushes in like a wave. Not because you're wrong, but because your nervous system isn't used to safety without self-sacrifice. And here's the trap. When you don't set boundaries, resentment builds. You start to feel invisible, exhausted, maybe even angry, but you don't say it out loud. You suppress it. You overgive, hoping someone will notice how tired you are. And when they don't, it confirms the story you've always believed, that your needs don't matter, that you're only lovable when you're useful. This is how people-pleasing turns into self-erasure. You lose your voice slowly, moment by moment, until one day, you can't tell the difference between what you want and what you've been conditioned to accept. Boundaries are how you reclaim that voice, not to push people away, but to stop abandoning yourself to keep others close. One of the biggest myths about boundaries is that they ruin relationships. But in reality, the lack of them does. Because when you constantly overextend yourself, when you constantly say yes while screaming no inside, it chips away at the honesty of your connection. You start pretending, smiling when you're not okay, showing up when you're exhausted, and slowly, you're not in the relationship anymore, just a version of you that performs to be accepted. The discomfort of setting boundaries isn't a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're doing something unfamiliar. You're rewriting old scripts, and your body, wired by years of survival behavior, doesn't like it. It wants you to stay safe. It equates rejection with danger. 50 The moment you assert yourself, that old alarm bell rings. What if they leave? What if I lose them? What if I'm too much? But here's the hard truth. If someone needs you to betray yourself in order to stay connected, that's not connection. That's control. You don't owe anyone your exhaustion, and you're not required to bleed just to prove your worth. Every time you set a boundary, you're not just confronting someone else, you're confronting the version of yourself that learned to survive by avoiding conflict. That younger you who made peace at their own expense, who found safety in silence, who believed love had to be earned by pleasing, fixing, or staying quiet. And now, with each boundary you try to hold, that version of you panics, because it thinks you're choosing danger, but you're not. You're choosing self-respect, you're choosing clarity, you're choosing relationships that aren't built on guilt or performance, but on truth. And that shift, it shakes everything. Some people won't like the new version of you not because you've changed, but because your change means they can't benefit from your self-abandonment anymore. The moment you stop over-explaining, stop apologizing for your needs, stop shrinking to make others comfortable, something powerful happens. You realize you were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong people. You might notice a strange kind of grief when you start setting boundaries, not just for the relationships that fall away, but for the version of yourself you have to leave behind. The one who always made things easier for everyone else. The one who smiled through discomfort. The one who kept the peace at the cost of your own. Letting go of that identity can feel like a betrayal. You'll wonder if you're being selfish, cold, or unfair. But here's the truth. Self-respect isn't selfish. It's the foundation of every healthy connection. When you honor your limits, you're teaching others how to treat you. But more importantly, you're finally showing yourself that your needs matter too. This process isn't linear. Some days you'll hold strong. Other days, guilt will creep in and you'll slip back into old patterns. That's normal. Growth never happens in a straight line. What matters is that you notice it, reset, and try again with compassion, not shame. Boundaries aren't walls to shut people out. They're doors with locks, tools to decide who gets access to your energy and under what conditions. The discomfort you feel, it's often your nervous system reacting to something unfamiliar, not something wrong. If you grew up in chaos, silence might feel threatening. If you were taught to keep others happy, saying no might feel like a personal failure. But those feelings are echoes of the past, not truths about the present. Boundaries will trigger people who benefited from your lack of them. They might guilt trip you, accuse you of changing, or question your loyalty. Don't take the bait. Their reaction isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong, it's a sign that your role in their story is shifting. And that's okay. You're not responsible for other people's comfort. You're responsible for your own well-being. That doesn't mean being rude or rigid. It means being honest, firm, and fair, even when your voice shakes. Especially then. Because every time you hold a boundary, you're rewriting the script. You're telling your nervous system, this is safe now. The goal isn't to never feel bad about boundaries. The goal is to feel the discomfort and still choose what's right for you. That's how you build emotional strength. That's how you build a life that doesn't constantly drain you. There's also grief in setting boundaries. Grief for the time you spent abandoning yourself, for the relationships that only survived because you stayed small, agreeable, silent. That grief is real. Let yourself feel it. Let yourself mourn the versions of you that didn't know how to protect your peace. But don't let that moaning pull you backward. You might start to notice people drifting away when you stop overgiving. It'll hurt. But take a closer look. Were they really there for you, or were they there for what you did for them? Boundaries don't push away the right people. They reveal them. And they make room for relationships built on truth instead of obligation. It's not your job to fix how others receive your limits. It's your job to live in alignment with your values, even when it feels unfamiliar or risky. Growth always feels like loss at first. But the space you're creating by saying no, that's where your real life begins to grow. So when your chest tightens and your hands shake as you say, I can't do that, know this, that tremble is strength. That discomfort is the cost of honesty. That moment is you becoming the kind of person your younger self always needed. Maybe the reason boundaries feel so hard isn't just because they're new. Maybe it's because you're finally choosing yourself in a world that taught you not to. Every time you draw that invisible line when you say no, when you don't explain, when you let the silence hang, you're rewriting your identity. Not as the fixer, the pleaser, the one who always makes it easier for everyone else, but as someone who counts too. And with that choice comes freedom. Not the loud, dramatic kind, but the quiet freedom of knowing you are no longer betraying yourself to belong. That your worth isn't tied to how much you tolerate. That your peace no longer hinges on someone else's comfort. The discomfort you feel now is not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's a sign you're healing, evolving, stepping out of patterns that were never yours to begin with. That knot in your stomach, it's your old self loosening its grip. Let it go. Because the truth is, setting boundaries won't make everyone happy, but it might finally make you whole. And here's the question that no one asks, but you should. What part of you still believes that saying no makes you a bad person? And who taught you that?